Hi everybody, happy Sunday, March 22nd. This is Nicole Lewis with Happy Homes VA. I wanted to take a moment and bring all of you my spiced pecans that I mentioned the other day in my Thursday Thoughts video. I had a couple of friends ask me how exactly I make them, so I thought let's draw a video up here for you. With that said, today's cooking recipe will be spiced pecans with a side of real estate. How do they relate, you might ask? Well, there's actually a lot of parallels between being in the kitchen and cooking up a real estate transaction. If you think of your realtor like the executive chef and the client like the sous chef, together as a team, you're making a delicious meal, otherwise known as a successful transaction to bring to the table. So I thought it would be a little fun to do some spiced pecans and parallel what we do in the kitchen with what we would do in a real estate transaction. So if you follow me, I can show you everything here. First, we set up what's called mise en place. Mise en place literally means, everything in its place being set up. I have my spices, my brown sugar, my unsalted butter, water, pecans, my cooking utensils. I have what's needed later, which will be a flat sheet pan with wax paper or parchment paper, and my skillet. And when we think of mise en place in real estate, it's really about having everything in its place so each step of the transaction is completely smooth. So you think of all of your spices and your recipe pieces as, let's say, your lender and your home inspector and your title person, your settlement company, all of those resources that a truly successful agent should be able to provide to you along each and every step of the way. Now, back to the pecans. We're going to turn on the skillet into a medium heat. I have it about 6 on my stove. I've got my toddler safety tools here. We have a 2.5-year-old and a dog at home, so if you hear either, please forgive me. You're just going to throw the pecans right into the toasting pan here. Let them sit, stir them every once in the blue moon. You're going to want about 4 or 5 minutes of toasting. And you'll know they're ready when you smell it. I wish I could send scents over the camera, but I can't. So I'll just tell you it smells like toasty, tasty, pecan-y deliciousness. If you want to bring it back to that metaphor of real estate, you can say that this is the point in the transaction where your agent, your realtor, or your executive chef, if you want to play along with the kitchen idea, is stirring things up. If you're a seller, they're out there creatively marketing and trying to find you as many buyers as possible. If you're a buyer, they're listening to your needs, they're researching, and we're going around and we're literally taking you to many different places. In this day and age with what's happening here, having that relationship with your realtor is really key to everything in the transaction. I know that with the clients that I'm working for in my listing that's going live this upcoming week, I'm doing everything outside the box for them. We're going to do virtual open houses. Everything will be done via DocuSign, exercising social responsibility and distancing, but still keeping the ball rolling, making sure that their transaction is a seamless one where they're happy. And again, like I said, a successful meal is no different than a successful transaction where everybody's happy at the end of the day. So let's see, we're 1 minute in here. This is about 4 cups of pecans. You just want to keep stirring because your skillet, which is the required tool for this, is going to get very hot and you don't want to burn those pecans. You just want to make sure that they're nice and toasted. While we're here, I'll also show you what else I set up for mise en place. This recipe calls for a variety of spices. In mine, particularly, I put cumin, cinnamon, Mexican chili powder, please excuse me, and nutmeg. I will post in the post itself the exact recipe of what I'm doing and the quantities. I have brown sugar here. It's a light brown sugar, absolutely delicious and what makes it sweet. And then 4 tablespoons, which I've cut up, of butter over here. And that will be put in almost immediately after these are toasted. There's my daughter. She wants to wash some dishes, but as you can see in the sink, we did wash some dishes. Yeah, Thea, we're going to wash dishes here in a couple of minutes. So back to real estate. We were talking about being set up for the transaction and making sure that everything is set up for success. I was reading about mise en place earlier with my husband, and there are chefs out there who adopt mise en place as a way of life. You know, if you talk to me in all of my correspondence when I'm working with clients, I'm constantly talking about planning, preparedness, being set up for success. And what does that mean? That means, you know, communication, transparency, trying new things, seeing what fits for every client, because not everybody is the same. Give me those glasses, Mush. No? All right. I warned you in the beginning that they might pop in, so all we're waiting on now is the dog. They're starting to smell, which is great. Oh my goodness, I wish I could share that scent with you. It's so delicious. I know when I started this video, you were probably like, what in the world do pecans have to do with real estate? But again, it's a philosophy. It's how one wants to live their life. As a realtor, I believe in education and making sure that you have everything that you need to succeed. You know, setting yourself up for success is not just a matter of espousing what you want to do in a transaction as a client. It's working with your realtor, like I said, your executive chef and your sous chef. Those two chefs keep the executive chefs in line. They taste the food. It's a second set of taste buds. They communicate constantly about the needs in the kitchen. And that relationship with the client and a realtor is really no different. You're a team, and one can't work exclusively without the other. Yes, so these have a beautiful toast to them. You can smell them. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to pop in that butter. Like I said, I took the 4 tablespoons and I just cut it up to make it easier, because what you don't want to do is you don't want the pecans burning while you're in this process. And if you put huge chunks of butter in, that's exactly what's going to happen, because they won't get covered evenly. You hear that sizzle. I suppose in this metaphor of real estate and cooking, that sizzle could be what's going on after the contract. That would be all of your contingencies, whether as a buyer, reviewing contingencies and making sure that you're keeping the buyers in line. If you're a seller, making sure that your realtor's got your back every step of the way. No dates are being missed in terms of those contracts. I will be posting this week an awesome article about why you don't want to be working with for sale by owners, you know, independently of a realtor. And I think this is a great time to mention it. And that's because there are so many bits and pieces involved in a transaction, from contracts to maintaining dates and what have you, that it's really just wise to have an expert on your side. So now that that butter is nice and set, we're going to throw the spices in here. This is like the easiest 7 minutes you'll ever have in cooking in your life. You can see that nice and steamy coming out. So like I said, as we're putting all the pieces and the mise en place together in here, we are in the process of executing the transaction of a delicious meal. Pecans, or a great sale, as you may say. Also in here now is going to be our butter, or sugar rather, and water stage. This is when we're coming to the end. This is when your lenders and your title people are doing closing disclosures. I'm getting you ready. The recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of butter, but I have a bit, or 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, but I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so that was definitely about a 1/2 cup. Also 2 tablespoons of water. And you're going to put that in. Oh, pecans! And then once this butter and sugar mix is good to go. You're going to start to see a little caramelization. You don't want to burn the sugar. That's super important. You just kind of want to coat, and you'll start to see them get a little sticky. Man down! Lost a pecan there. Quite a few. We'll pick those up later and give them to the dog. Let's see here. Okay, and then the last step in this transaction, or cooking experience, if you will, is, of course, turning off the flame. And then getting all of these nuts onto a sheet pan. Like I said, you can either use wax paper or parchment paper. The main goal is to just let them cool and separate them so they're not sticking. Oh, it smells so good. We're gonna flatten out here in the pan. I'm gonna take this fork out, which I'm gonna use to separate here in just a few minutes. Couple of points about the spices. You can really use any spices you like. It's really about the caramelization of the sugar and the water and the last bit of that process there with the butter. I like things a little spicy, so you'll see me use like chili powders and cayenne and cumin and things like that. Today, because of course we're self-quarantining, I went with what I had in the cabinet and what I instinctively knew would be flavorful together. So this is good. I'm going to let this cool for about 10-15 minutes, and then I'm going to start digging in. My family and I love these, so we'll see if they even make it into a container tonight or if we've just cleared out the whole pan. So this, friends and family, are the spiced pecans. And like I promised, we had a little bit of a side of real estate. So just to recap, you want to work with your realtor as a team. You're there to get to the end of a successful transaction together, much like I did today with my team, my lovely husband behind the camera. You know, set yourself up for success. Have those conversations with your realtor. Make sure your realtor is the right realtor for you, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to be guiding you and making sure that you have all of your pieces together. If you have any questions, of course, email me, DM me, give me a ring, shoot me a text. Whatever's best for you. But all in all, I hope you enjoyed this little cooking demo today and that you get to make some spiced nuts or pecans on your own. It does work with any nuts, really, not just pecans. But all in all, I guess that's it. And just thank you so much for your time, everybody. Have a great day and stay safe and be good. Thanks.